Okay, I wish to call to order this public hearing on January the 14th at 5:30 p.m. Council would like to acknowledge the Ucluelet First Nation, on whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. Notice of video recording. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube. Rules governing public hearings. As provided for in the Local Government Act, the Council is required to hold a public hearing before adopting an official community plan bylaw, zoning bylaw, or amendments thereto. At a public hearing, all persons who deem their interest in property affected by the proposed bylaws shall be afforded an opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions on matters contained in the bylaw. Council may consider amending the bylaws based on the public input received at today's public hearing. At a public hearing, the Council is under no obligation to enter into a debate of any issue. The purpose of the hearing is to hear public input, which will later be considered by the Council in their special meeting. You will have as much time to address Council as you need, as long as your comments are focused on the bylaws and licenses, which are subject to the public hearing. Following the public hearing, Council will not accept further communication or presentations from the public or the applicant respecting the bylaws. Procedure for addressing Council. To maintain order and to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, our rules of procedures are as follows. To address Council, please proceed to the podium and begin your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you are speaking on behalf of an organization or another person, please identify the name and address of that organization or person. If you are speaking from prepared remarks, we would appreciate a copy. First-time speakers, please limit your comments to 2 minutes and to matters contained in the proposed bylaw only. Once we've heard from the first-time speakers, there will be an opportunity to address Council a second time. Please remember to address your comments to Council. To maintain an atmosphere that is respectful of all points of view, it is important for the audience to refrain from applauding or cheering for speakers. We need to respect and hear all views, including those that may be in the minority. After everyone has spoken once, those wishing to speak again will have an opportunity. Council members may ask questions of speakers or staff to clarify what has been said. However, this is not an opportunity for debate. Okay. So there's been a notice of public hearing. And we're off to 7, public hearing. So a presentation of bylaw number 1259, 2019. Mr. Gregg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would just note before I begin that we do have a copy of the existing zoning bylaw and official community plan bylaws reference material if anyone in the audience wishes to refer to them during the hearing. So in a nutshell, the Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1259, 2019, its general purpose is to amend section R1.1.1 within Schedule B of the Ucluelet zoning bylaw number 1160, 2013, to allow for a detached accessory residential dwelling unit instead of an attached secondary suite on the property at 1178 Coral Way. And just briefly, those are old slides. Here we are. The location of the subject property is towards the end of Coral Way. We have an aerial photo also just indicating this is the property that we're discussing. This is just from the staff report, which is in the public hearing agenda. This is the subject property. It shows the dashed outline. And for audience members, I'll just project this behind Council. The proposed main house is to the left, and what's highlighted in red here is the accessory building, within which what's being proposed is that this is the floor plan of that building. It would be garage plus small accessory dwelling unit, looking somewhat like this. As well, this public hearing is an opportunity for Council to get input on a development variance permit, which is being requested as well as part of this application. So development variance permit number 3090-20 DVP 19-06. Its purpose would increase the permitted size of an accessory building under section R-1.4.2 from a maximum combined total of 60 square meters to a maximum of 122 square meters, which would be required for the building as shown.
Okay, thank you. So, I declare the public hearing for District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1259 and development variance permit number 3090-20-DVP 19-06 open. Staff spoken. And is the applicant here? You have a letter from the applicant?
This is a letter from the applicant dated January 14th, 2020. I'll just read it as written. Dear council members and neighbors, I am very sorry I cannot attend the public meeting and to share our intentions with you. I am on a business trip in Europe, and I could not have foreseen these dates when I applied for the rezoning. I have heard that there were some concerns regarding our rezoning application/build, so please find below some clarifications. Please also know that the main reasons for our application to rezone are low impact on the land, to preserve trees and nature, tenant-landlord privacy, respect and support community, in brackets, through long-term rental to locals. Building scheme, detached utility building. This will be a normal car garage like anyone is allowed to have attached to their house. Our proposed rezoning and build is all about having the lowest impact on the land and because detached from the main house to save the lives of some old-growth cedar trees and to minimize the clearing of the building sites. The design of our house has taken into consideration the trees and landscape and is a non-invasive design. Basically meandering through the land to a single-level home with a minimal visual impact. Our goal is to have a minimal impact on the land, the view from the ocean, and the view from our neighbors. Short-term/nightly rentals and bed and breakfast use. We have no intentions of doing short-term rentals or bed and breakfast rentals. Our genuine intention is to rent to a local couple that is active in the community and who can look after our land and house while we are away. Also in this case, if a separate secondary suite is built, the bed and breakfast use would not be allowable because the two cannot occur together. Bylaw enforcement. The proposed rezoning would be much easier for bylaw officers to monitor because the suite would not be part of the house where it can be at times challenging to monitor. In our proposed rezoning, a bylaw officer could simply walk to the detached suite and easily inquire about it. In closing, our neighbors to the south, in brackets, Sharon Hertel and her family, who would be the most affected with our rezoning, are fully supporting our application. I have included a screenshot of our email exchange in this regard. Thank you very much for taking the time to understand our intentions with our build and proposed rezoning. Kind regards, Christy Lamantia and JF Pelchat. And just to read the attached email. So this appears to be an email from Jean-François Pelchat to Sharon Hertel. It says, "Hi Sharon, how are you? Happy New Year. I would like to share with you and your dad that our rezoning for our land to be allowed to have the suite detached from the main house as past first and second reading with council. The next meeting is a public hearing and is held on January 14th, 2020, which I am sure your dad has received a notice about. Please let me know if this is any concerns to you or your family, as our plans to start with phase 1 of the build, which will be the garage and a suite beside it right next to the RV trailer in Late Spring. Cheers, JF Pelchat." And to that, Sharon replies, "Happy New Year also, and to your family, we have no concerns about rezoning application. Good luck with the next hearing. All the best, Sharon."
Thank you. Okay, members of the public will now have the opportunity to comment on the District of Ucluelet zoning bylaw number 1259, 2019, Development Variance Permit number 3090-20-DVP-19-06. Okay. So any first-time speakers?
My name is Jens Hedak. I live at 302 Reef Point Road, and I also have lived at 1179 Coral Way for 6+ years, managing the hotel property. So I'm quite familiar with the challenges this piece of land have. I had the opportunity to speak to Christy yesterday to just clarify a few of my concerns. And I am convinced that the two property owners are genuinely interested in preserving old growth trees, having a low environmental impact, and have no interest in doing nightly rentals or vacation rentals. More so, I think, as a neighbor, that the proposed architectural plans are of quite significance in terms of design, and therefore will have a positive impact on the subdivision as a whole. They also are filling a niche here in Ucluelet. There's a very high demand, as you all know, for rental space. There are 30+ families, as researched by the West Coast Resources Society, that are currently looking for a rental place. So them actually providing such rental place for the community is of great benefit, and their actual active engagement with various nonprofits, environmental nonprofits, to replant trees and et cetera, which wasn't outlined in their letter, is more than I can speak of myself. So they are very active when it comes to the preservation of our environment, and very thoughtful in the way that they wanted to develop the land. So I don't see any issues when it comes to either old growth trees nor a possible misuse of a detached residential dwelling of that size. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers? Welcome, Carrie.
Carrie Harwood, 1136 Coral Way. And I actually just found out about this morning, so I don't have as much information as I would like. But I just wanted to come and speak my 2 cents. This will be happening a few blocks from where I live. And the two most important things for me, I think you guys know, housing and finding places for people that are working and supporting our town to live is very important. And if that's what this is in favor of, then I am in favor of that. And the second thing is also protection of the old growth forest. There are 2, if not 3. Does anyone know the age of the trees on that property, Bruce? 700+ years.
Yeah, and they're out of the way of
Right. So these are extremely old trees. Like, these things are, like, I can't speak highly enough of what the value of that living in the ground is. And this development proposes that those trees will stand, as far as I'm aware. Bruce, is that correct? Or cool. So that's what that proposes, and I guess there's fear or a bit of concern that if this doesn't go through, that the owners might sell the property. They might forgo this proposal and sell it to someone who would clear cut those trees. I don't know. And that actually then proposes a larger picture to council and to town to say, can we create a rule or a law that we will not cut down such beautiful trees? Now that's my environmental voice, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for the comments, Carrie. Any other first-time speakers?
Wow, twice in one day. This is great.
Blessed.
Hi, everybody. Randy Oliwa, 1150 Rupert Road. So I got 2 minutes, eh?
As you want. It's all good.
Of course, the discussion tonight is in front of you guys is not about protection of old growth forests. If that was the case, we've already had strengthened our development permit areas and tree protection bylaws to an extent that we wouldn't see old growth trees get chopped down anymore. So that's unfortunately not the topic tonight. The topic tonight is breaking an existing bylaw or modifying an existing bylaw that was put in place to clearly lay out to the best of the ability of the council of that day, and it's still carried forward to this day, on what's black and white. Is it an R1? Is it a single family home? Is it a bed and breakfast? What's happening in that monthly suite? Are we licensing those monthly suites with business licenses? How do we know that the intended use, that the proponent that came in front of a council is a week after the rezoning application, 6 months after the rezoning application, 2 years after the rezoning application, is it still being used for the intended purpose that the council of the day approved it for? And I've been following, I still keep in touch and watch what's happening within the community. I don't see that anything has changed in the last 12 months. We're still complaint-driven bylaw, so we're still pitting neighbors against neighbors. I don't see any new rental zoning that's the province has made available to local governments. So my questions around this is not the fact that I think it's a great opportunity to preserve some trees and do the least amount of impact on that piece of property. It's a beautiful development. I mean, look at it. I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking. But we could all produce stuff like this, and they do have the right to chop those trees down if they want, or preserve them. That's the landowner's right. But our right as a community and a taxpayer is to somehow try and continue the use that you guys approve into longevity. Case in point, a year and a half ago, I'm going to say probably about 4 years ago, a family came forward and we rezoned a nice piece of property up on High Focus Island. That proponent pitched a beautiful, I'm going to say at least $1 million house on the water with, I believe, up to 4 or 5 cabins. Within 12 months, that same proponent came back to council. They got approved, they're not building the major house, which would have been the tax base for that property for the taxpayers to benefit from. And they ended up just building the 3 cabins. I don't know if they're even built to this day. So plans change. So I'm asking you now that if you have to look at, you guys obviously have more information than us, but if we're still complaint-driven bylaw, we haven't tightened up any definitions or allowed for covenants for restricted uses, like a covenant on that building saying it's 100% rental only, or somehow using that new provincial zoning saying that it will only be used for rental. I don't think we've tightened things up enough to allow for the break of that bylaw at this point in time. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Allo. Appreciate your comments. Any other first-time speakers?
My name is Diane McCreary, and I live at 1166 Coral Way, which is 2 lots over from this property. I just had a couple of questions. I have a concern. What's going to happen to property values and the tax implications? Is spot zoning going to become a thing? Are there going to be more allowed on Coral Way? The original covenants on Coral Way and the Reef Point development was very specific about what could be put on the property and the size. And so I noticed that this application is looking for a doubling of the size of the secondary building. That's a little bit of a concern. That's about it, but these are just concerns that came up we love where we live and we love the trees, and the fact that they want to preserve trees is very good. I have not met these people, but it sounds like they want to do the right thing. But I'm just concerned about the changes in the zoning and like what may happen in the future.
Okay, thank you. Any other first-time speakers? No. Any going once, going second time? Any new speakers?
Jens Heiduk, 302 Reef Point Road. I don't know when the R1 zoning bylaw was written, but I think it might have been at a time when nobody could anticipate it, the influx of tourism and the housing need in this area. I believe that the R1 zoning is long overdue for overhaul, and I think this right now is sort of a first step towards that, and maybe just a band-aid to get something done right now. There are various housing committees that try to get affordable housing up on the way or to create rental space. When I built in 2017, the R1 zoning was quite restrictive. I was either offered to build 3 B&B suites or 1 long-term rental suite. I had to basically make a tough choice. I had to either make money to support my family, or I could have created a rental suite for much less money per month. Therefore, though creating a or supporting the family in the first, the community in the first place. It both wasn't possible at all. Like it could have been a mixed version, like 2 B&B suites and a rental suite, something like this. But unfortunately, the R1 code, the zoning bylaw, will not allow for that to happen. The only way how we can answer to the housing crisis, as it is right now in the case, is through densification of this community, to allow tiny homes, to allow for laneway houses. And 600 square feet is okay if you're single and have a dog, but it's not enough for a family of 2, a family of 4 or family of 3, etc. to live in. So 1,200 square feet, I mean, like there's also a garage included in the footage. That's not a lot of room, but it will work, and it's a great stepping stone, much like it was for me 10 years ago when I was offered a caretaker position at the hotel's B&B. So that's how you get people to stay in this community and to eventually build a house just like myself and pay property taxes. I don't have any concerns with 1,200 square feet, nor that it is a detached, because it is, you don't want your neighbors or your tenants to be right on top of you, below you, next to you, especially not with a toddler of 2 and another one at 3 years of age. They have been yelling into my ear just about 10 minutes ago. So I fully understand that there are concerns regarding the R1 zoning, but it has been written what feels like a century ago, and I think it's time to just start to give it some leeway and allow for developments like these. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just calling for a third time. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak?
Tom Petrowitz, 1160 Coral Way. In 1997, my wife purchased a lot, Lot 16. Included in the lot was a set of restrictive covenants which tell you exactly what you can and cannot do in in the Reef Point Beach Estates. These restrictive covenants are attached to every title, and they are the law of the land in the Reef Point Beach Estates. One of the covenants states that if there is a discrepancy or a disagreement between the covenant and the District of Ucluelet, the covenant shall prevail. Okay. The covenant is a legal document. It's registered in the Land Title Office in Victoria, and it has a number, and it's, as I said, is attached to every every lot in the district, okay? So essentially, this body has no say at all in what can or cannot happen in Reef Point Beach Estates regarding the covenants. The only time a covenant can be altered is with 100% approval of the residents of the subdivision or by a court of law. There's nothing in the covenants anywhere saying the District of Ucluelet Council has any say whatsoever, just in terms of the covenants. A couple of years ago, there was an application to the district regarding, it was a vacation rental. Now, when the covenants were written 15 years ago, the concept of vacation rental didn't exist. Okay, so it did not exist in the covenants. So the people came to this council and asked that a vacation rental be allowed. They were denied. We voiced our disapproval because of a lot of things, but anyway, it was denied. Now, this application, the lot is over 3,000 square meters. It is allowed to have one accessory building, okay, of 30 some square meters. Full stop. The only way you can change that particular part of the covenant is A, to have everybody agree to it, or take it to a court of law. Now, I've read a whole whack of opinions, and I've spent thousands of dollars on an opinion of the validity of the covenants of the Reef Point subdivision, okay? And I wrote a letter to council regarding this, and all my statements in there are in reference to the opinion that I received from a senior partner at Miller Thompson in Vancouver, okay? Now, so essentially, we seem to be at a crossroad as to who can do what to who. And by law, the residents of Reef Point subdivision or the courts have the say in adopting the covenants. There is no bylaw regarding a size of a secondary building in Reef Point subdivision. So anyway, if the applicant wants an 1,100 square foot building, he has two choices. He can either apply to every resident in the subdivision for their approval to build this. One negative vote will cancel it, and you have a letter signed with 6 negative votes, so that probably is off the table. Okay. The other is to the court of law.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, and I'm just, are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Going twice. I'll do that one more time. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Okay. Do we need to read out these 2 letters? Oh, thank you.
The first letter is from Nellie Hayduck of Reef Point Road, Ucluelet, BC. To the District of Ucluelet regarding development variance permit number 3090-20 DVP 19-06 1178 Coral Way. I, Nellie Hayduck, am in full support of the proposed development variance. It is the intent of the property owners to create a detached structure and garage for the sole purpose of providing long-term rental space. At no point this detached structure is intended to be short-term or vacation rental. Furthermore, the owners are well aware of the importance to develop the property with the least environmental impact as possible. Both property owners are active supporters of various environmental nonprofits and carefully plan the buildings to leave the old growth on-site untouched. with amendments to the R1 zoning to accommodate laneway houses and detached suites and tiny homes long overdue. The proposed variance is a logical step towards property densification and to create much-needed rental space in town. Respectfully, Nellie Hayduck. And there's a second letter written, signed by 4 residents. I'll read it as written on January 14th, 2020. We, the owners of Reef Point properties on either immediate side of Lot 13, those being Lot, and given the number redacted, Thomas and Helena Hurtle of Hurtle's Beach House of Coral Way, permanent residents being address redacted, Bland Road in Port Alberni, and Lot 14, Ronald and Sheila Caldwell residing at address redacted, Bland Road, Port Alberni, wish to respectfully submit that we are in favor of the proposed zoning application as noted above. So that's Thomas Hurtel, Helena Hurtel, Ronald Caldwell, and Sheila Caldwell.
Thank you. Where are we at here? Okay, so that's the, you're gonna call in for the third time. Any new comments? Anybody who wish to speak?
Tom Petrowitz again, 1160 Coral Way. There's a red herring in this whole thing is if we decide that the covenants, restrictive covenants, are the law of the land at Reef Point, and if the council decides in their wisdom that, well, we're going to ignore these, as been suggested by some legal opinion associated with the council, then a structure gets built, okay? And whatever happens. Now, down the road, you know, Lord help us, something catastrophic happens to this structure. It burns or it falls down, it does something, and the owners go after the insurance company. Now, insurance companies have very high-priced help, and they don't want to pay anything. Now, they're going to look at the covenant and say, hey, this was supposed to be a 30 square meter building, and it is now a 122 square meter building. Therefore, in terms of the covenant, this building is illegal. And if it is illegal, there's no insurance.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Any members of the public who wish to speak?
Jens Heidock, 302 Reef Point Road. As much as I appreciate the concerns of my neighbor towards the personal property as proposed of the future developers of this lot, I don't think it's of our concern. Second, a code written by the developers in the 1990s is probably very likely to be dismissed in court. And thirdly, right now there are 3 lots that have been developed in the Coral Way road that have been completely or close to be completely clear-cut with ignoring any covenants whatsoever. I'd like to see the processing in courts regarding that. But this, I don't understand why this is a big issue. Thank you.
Okay. Any members of the public who wish to speak? Okay, welcome back.
Carrie 1136 Coral Way one last time. It's just a dream of mine that we all get together here and are able to, the next, I'm just going to say a few years, maybe the next decade, we all kind of get together and say, we really love what we did, and we're all working together to make this town as great as it can be. Thanks.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Going a second time, any additional comments from any speakers? And a final time, are there any members of the public who wish to speak?
So excellent discussion, everybody. learning some new stuff. This is always good at my age. So without going into loads and loads of detail, in my personal opinion, and the research that I've personally done, even up to date with the recent 32% property increase on vacant land in Ucluelet that came forward from BC Assessment this year. I'll just drill into that real quick. So I kind of got BC Assessment on speed dial. I think they're actually screening my calls now. So I asked them how they made their determination on a empty piece of property I have, non-waterfront, and jumped it to 32% increase. And they told me there's quite a number of properties in Ucluelet, the vacant land. And they sent me an email, and I said, well, what were your comparables? The comparables that they sent me were to the if you didn't know the community and the culture and what actually sold in the town, and you were sitting in an office in Nanaimo, yeah, they probably look good. Non-waterfront, along Marine Drive, properties around them sold exponentially above BC Assessment of 2018, 2019, which affected those R1s. But the problem is, the properties that sold, a major property there, was also a guest house. It sold for 40%. So the listing, the BC Assessment on it was 1.577. It sold for 2.195, $600,000 over assessment. That doesn't happen with a single family home that mom and dad live in and raise their families in. But they're being impacted. And they're being impacted, yes, by good intentions, bad intentions. We're just going to build a monthly rental, but we've been hearing this for a decade or more. That's one of the reasons that 1160 was implemented. A member asked why it was implemented at the time. And the fact is, we don't have the tax base to hire a full-time bylaw officer that's going to run around and chase these things down. We don't have it. It's not there. And when the abuses happen, when the proponent's monthly turns into short-term rentals, it's on a very short period of time, usually 9 to 12 weeks, when bylaw's extremely busy, running around doing stuff that they're already assigned to do. We are a complaint-driven bylaw community. We don't have the resources to guarantee that this is going to stay like that. The other part of it is densification. Talk to people in Qualicum and Parksville. A decade ago, they went down this road and started to put little tiny houses and converting little laneway garages and stuff into monthly rentals. Their property values have exploded, as we know. They've had to go nightly because they can't afford it. Your cost of construction doesn't make a business sense to convert a garage to a monthly rental. The cost of construction or renovation absolutely makes business sense to go nightly. It's sad that you have to make a decision whether you're going to run a B&B or a monthly accommodation, but that's where we're at, Ucluelet. I haven't heard anything else or seen anything else in the last 12 months that would change my mind that we are somewhere other than going down that same road. If you allow overdeveloped properties that are building out to the maximum of their property with the intent that it's going to do one thing, but we know what it slides into, it will increase values, property values, and it will impact the single-family residential house that's just trying to raise a family on any other street in Ucluelet. Just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ottawa. Okay. I want to ask the second time, any additional speakers? And I'm going to ask for a third and final time, are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing for the District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1259, 2019, development variance permit number 3090-20-DVP-1906 closed. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.